Let me tell you something simple but powerful. Nobody can drive your car if you don't hand them the keys. You hear me? That means nobody, no stranger on the street, no comment online, no bad attitude in the office can control your peace unless you give them permission. And too many people out here are handing over those keys without even knowing it. We've got folks walking around, chest out, voice raised, trying to look strong, but they're not free. They're just chained to every emotion, every insult, every look someone gives them. That's not strength. That's bondage. That's reaction. And you weren't built to live like that. You were built to lead yourself, to hold your ground, to stay calm when the world tries to stir chaos. That's real power. Not the kind that flexes, but the kind that breathes. The kind that walks away from nonsense, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You want to live free. You want to walk unshakable. Then stop handing out your peace like it's up for grabs. Guard it. Protect it. Choose when to speak, when to be still, and when to rise above it all. Because the moment you decide that your emotions don't belong to anyone else but you, that's the moment you start living on purposely. That's the moment you take the wheel and you start driving the life you were meant to lead. All right, lean in for a moment. You want to know how to walk through this world without getting pulled into every little storm. It starts right here inside, not out there, not with them, with you. See, the first step to never getting angry, really, truly never letting anyone get under your skin, is understanding this one truth: you are not your emotions. That might sound simple, but most people never get it. Emotions, they're like waves in the ocean. They rise, they crash, they fade. But you're not the wave, you are the ocean. Deep, still, immovable. And when you get that, really feel that, suddenly everything changes. Now look, people are going to test you. That's guaranteed. They'll disrespect you, undermine you, mock you, cut you off in traffic like they own the road. That's life. That's human behavior. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. They don't control your anger. You do. They're just pressing buttons. And those buttons, you installed them. You ever thought about that? The anger didn't come from them. It came from the meaning you gave to what they did. The meaning you gave to what they said. It came from a story you told yourself about who you are or who you fear you might not be. Let me give it to you straight. Someone calls you lazy. If that shakes you, it's not because they hit some universal truth. It's because deep down you might be worried they're right. But if you know who you are, if you've put in the work, stayed up late, got up early, pushed yourself when no one was watching, you know better. So when they say it, it bounces right off. It's like someone calling a lion weak. The lion doesn't stop and explain himself. He just keeps walking through the jungle because he knows who he is. And that's what this is all about. Response over reaction. See, reacting is easy. It's emotional reflex. It's automatic. It's survival mode. But responding takes strength. It takes awareness. It takes you stepping back for 1 second and saying, wait, I'm not letting this moment define me. I'm defining the moment. The person who cuts you off in traffic. You could chase them down, flip them off, raise your blood pressure for no reason. Or you could let it go. Breathe. Smile even. Why? Because you understand that your peace is too expensive to give away to a stranger who doesn't even know your name. You've got to stop letting people pull you into their chaos just because they're uncomfortable in their own mind. If someone's angry, that's their storm. Don't let it become yours. You've got a choice in every situation, a space between what happens and how you handle it. And that space, that's where your power lies. So next time somebody tries to light your fuse, remember this: you're not the fuse, you're not the fire, you're the one holding the match. And you don't have to strike it. You can choose peace, you can choose power, you can choose to walk away with your dignity intact and your mind clear. Because control, real control, it's not about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself. And once you do that, nobody can shake you. Nobody can own you because you've already claimed yourself. You ever notice how fast people react these days? It's like they're waiting, itching to be offended, to snap, to explode. One wrong look, one rude comment, one bump on the shoulder, and boom. People lose their cool like it's nothing. But listen to me. The ones who win in life aren't the ones who react fast. They're the ones who know how to pause. See, there's real power in the pause, not weakness, not hesitation, not fear. Power, because in that pause, in that breath, in that moment of stillness, you get to decide who you're going to be. Someone throws words at you, trying to bait you, trying to rile you up, trying to drag you down to their level. Don't match their energy. Don't play their game. Control the tempo, because when you slow it down, you own it. The loudest one in the room ain't the strongest. The one who stays still, the one who doesn't flinch, that's who really runs the room. Let me hit you with something backed by science. They say when you pause for even just 6 seconds, just 6, your brain chemistry starts to shift. Cortisol, the stress hormone, stops flooding your system. That pause, it kicks you out of that fight or flight mode and puts you back in control. Your heart slows down, your mind clears up. You stop operating out of fear or anger, and you start acting from a place of strength. 6 seconds. That's all it takes to go from breaking your hand on a wall to walking away with your dignity. From screaming something you'll regret to responding like someone who knows who they are. Now I know it's not easy. When someone's yelling in your face, talking about you behind your back, pushing your buttons on purpose, the natural instinct is to react. But that's the trap. That's how you lose. You give them what they want, and now they own you. They say jump, and you're already in the air. No, take your power back. Pause. Let them act out. Let them throw shade. Let them perform. You stay still. Stay focused. Stay grounded. Because when you don't react, they don't know what to do with you. They expect fireworks. They expect chaos. But all they get is calm. And that calm makes people nervous. It makes people respect you even when they don't want to. Because control, true control, is rare. There's a story I heard once. A monk sat quietly while a man shouted insult after insult at him for over an hour. Just yelled and screamed, did everything he could to get a reaction. The monk never flinched. Finally, the man stopped, confused, frustrated. Why didn't you respond? He asked. And the monk said, if someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, to whom does it belong? That's what I'm talking about. You don't have to accept every attack. You don't have to grab every insult thrown your way. You don't have to dance to every tune somebody else plays. You are not obligated to pick up every emotional bag somebody else drops at your feet. Learn to pause, to breathe, to choose stillness over chaos. Because once you master that moment, that tiny space between trigger and response, you become untouchable. And the world, it starts to move to your rhythm. Now listen closely, because this part right here, it's where a lot of people get it twisted. Being calm does not mean being passive. Being peaceful does not mean you're soft. You don't become a doormat just because you've learned to control your temper. You don't turn the other cheek so someone can slap you twice. That's not wisdom. That's self-betrayal. See, you're not here to be walked on. You're not here to be everybody's emotional punching bag. You're not here to accept disrespect in the name of being the bigger person. No, you are here to stand strong, clear, rooted. But here's the key. You don't have to scream to make your boundaries heard. A wise person once said, I don't raise my voice to make a point. I raise my standards. Let that sit in your spirit for a second, because that's what real authority looks like. When you raise your standards, the world has no choice but to rise or fall away. And if they fall away, so be it. You never needed them to begin with. You don't teach people how to respect you by how loud you get. You teach them by what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you walk away from. Every time you let someone cross the line without consequence, you're telling them, this is okay. Even if your heart is screaming no, your silence is saying yes. But when you draw that line, calmly, clearly, consistently, people learn real quick. And if they don't learn, they leave. Either way, you win. Because peace without self-respect, that's not peace, that's a prison. Let me give you something practical. You don't need to curse somebody out to let them know they've gone too far. You don't need to slam doors, write paragraphs, or wage emotional war. All you have to say is this: I don't accept that. That's it. No need for a speech. No need for a debate. Just, I don't accept that. And if you can't respect me, you don't get access to me. Simple, solid, final. Because what you're doing in that moment isn't starting a battle. You're ending one. You're ending the war between who you really are and who you've been pretending to be just to keep the peace. You're ending the need to be liked at the cost of being respected. You're ending the habit of shrinking yourself to fit into places that never deserved you. People will test you. They'll poke at your patience to see what they can get away with. Some of them do it intentionally. Others do it because they've never seen healthy boundaries before. But your job isn't to fix them. Your job is to protect your peace, and protection starts with clarity. Say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean. That's power, that's presence, that's leadership. So next time someone tries to push you past your limit, don't lose yourself trying to prove your worth. Don't fight to be seen. Don't beg to be heard. Stand firm, look them in the eye, and let your boundaries speak louder than your anger ever could. Because when you honor your limits, you teach the world to do the same. And trust me, that's not weakness. That's wisdom in motion. You know, people talk a lot about strength these days. They talk about muscles, about power moves, about being loud, being seen, being the one who claps back the fastest. But let me tell you something most folks never learn until it's too late. Real strength isn't in how loud you get. Real strength is in restraint. That quiet control. That calm in the chaos, that ability to stay centered when everything around you is falling apart. That's the kind of power that changes rooms, shifts energy, and earns respect without ever asking for it. It's easy to lose your temper. Anybody can do that. It takes no discipline, no control, no purpose. You want to know what takes strength, what takes real power. Staying composed when your pride wants to lash out. Holding your ground when your ego is screaming for revenge. That's hard, that's uncomfortable, but that's where the giants walk. That's the territory of the strong. When you look at the ones who are truly effective, the ones who lead, the ones who rise to the top, the ones who hold it together when everyone else is falling apart, you'll see a pattern. They're centered, steady, calm under pressure. You think a Navy SEAL loses his cool every time something doesn't go his way. You think a world leader panics every time someone criticizes them. You think elite athletes let trash talk throw them off their game. No, they don't. They've trained themselves to stay rooted, to breathe through the storm, to focus on what matters, not what distracts. Because every second you give to anger is a second lost in battle. Every moment you spend emotionally reacting is a moment you're not thinking, not moving, not building, not leading. And the world doesn't slow down just because you got triggered. The mission doesn't pause so you can catch your breath. Life keeps moving. So you've got to be stronger than your emotions. You've got to be grounded in something deeper than your feelings. That doesn't mean you're numb. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let those feelings run the show. You let them come. You let them go. But you stay rooted. You stay locked in. Because if you let other people's actions determine your emotions, they own you. But when you master your inner world, when you decide, I'm going to stay centered no matter what, the outer world has to follow your lead. People will come at you with chaos, with gossip, with disrespect, with attitude. And the moment you match that chaos, they win. You just stepped into their arena. But when you stay calm, when you don't let them pull you out of pocket, that's when they start to shrink. That's when they realize this one's different. This one can't be baited. This one's too grounded to be shaken. That's the kind of strength that builds nations, that holds families together, that runs businesses, that leads movements. That's the kind of strength that makes people stop and pay attention. Not because you're loud, but because you're still, because you're sure, because you've got nothing to prove and everything to protect. So ask yourself, when the storm hits, when the pressure rises, when people test you, can you stay centered? Can you hold your peace when everything in you wants to fight back? Because that's the test. That's the measure. Not how much you can lift, not how fast you can run, but how still you can be when it counts. Control the inside and watch how everything outside starts to shift. That's real strength. You want to carry peace in your life. You want to walk through this world without getting rattled by every word, every look, every bit of shade someone throws your way. Then you've got to learn how to reframe what you see. That's the master key. That's how you stop the cycle before it starts. See, the way you see people will shape the way you feel about what they do. And once you shift your perspective, you change your entire response. People act out for a reason, always. Nobody just wakes up and decides to tear others down unless something inside of them is already broken. Hurt people hurt people. That's not just a catchy line. That's the truth. People carrying around pain will project it onto others just to lighten their own load for a moment. It doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does explain it. Insecure people, They poke, they prod, they provoke, because making someone else feel small gives them a brief illusion of control, a flash of superiority. And lost people, they'll try to pull you down simply because they don't know how to get up. They see your confidence, your peace, your direction, and it threatens them. It reminds them of what they're missing. So instead of getting angry, instead of snapping back, stop and ask yourself, what must be going on in their life for them to act this way? What kind of pain must they be carrying to move like that? That shift in thinking, that tiny moment of reflection, it pulls you out of your ego and into your purpose. It doesn't mean you become a doormat. It doesn't mean you let disrespect slide. What it means is that you stop letting their behavior control your emotions. Because when you get curious instead of angry, when you respond with understanding instead of offense, something powerful happens. You trade your anger for empathy. And that changes everything. That right there is where your freedom lies. Because now you're no longer reacting from your wounds. You're leading from your wisdom. And guess what? That doesn't just help them. It heals you. It heals the part of you that's tired of carrying grudges. It heals the part of you that's been walking around ready for a fight. It lets you breathe easier, think clearer, love deeper. You're not letting them off the hook. You're just refusing to chain yourself to their pain. You're choosing peace over pride, growth over ego. And once you start doing that, you stop being triggered by people who haven't done the inner work. So the next time someone comes at you sideways, take a breath. Look deeper. See the wound behind the words. You'll find that most of the time, it's not really about you. It's about what's going on inside of them. And when you can see that, you rise above the offense. You walk away lighter, and you become the kind of person this world desperately needs. When you know why you're here, when you're locked in on your mission, a whole lot of things just stop mattering. You stop chasing every argument. You stop clapping back at every little comment. You stop letting people who don't matter steer your emotions. Because when you're focused, truly focused, on where you're going, you don't have time to keep looking back at who's talking behind your back. You don't have the luxury to be distracted by noise. You're too busy building. Most of the things that make us angry, let's be honest, they're not even worth it. Think about it. That person who cut you off in traffic, that snide remark in a meeting, that online troll who said something slick on your post. In 5 hours, it won't even cross your mind. In 5 days, you won't even remember their name. But in that moment, if you're not careful, it feels like everything. It feels personal. It feels heavy. And that's where we lose the plot, when we let the temporary take us off course from the eternal. You've got to stop giving permanent energy to temporary people and moments. You're here to build something. You're here to become someone, to grow, to lead, to serve, to create, to leave a mark on this world. That's your mission. And every time you get caught up in nonsense, in gossip, in petty fights, you're stepping off your path. You're wasting fuel that could be pushing you forward. See, the thing about distractions is they often come disguised as things that feel important. Pride will tell you, you can't let them talk to you like that. Ego will whisper, you better prove them wrong. But purpose says, keep going. They don't see the mountain you're climbing. Purpose says, their opinion doesn't determine your outcome. Purpose reminds you, you've got work to do. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them doubt you. That's not your job to manage. Your job is to stay focused. Keep your head down. Keep your heart steady. Keep walking forward. The people who matter, they'll see you. The opportunities that matter, they'll find you. But only if you're still on the path. Only if you haven't wandered off chasing approval, chasing payroll, chasing payback, chasing arguments that won't matter when the dust settles. So the next time someone tries to pull you into something small, ask yourself, does this align with my mission? Does this get me closer to my goals, my peace, my purpose? Or is it just another detour dressed up as a battle? Stay mission focused. Keep your eyes on what matters. Because when you're building something bigger than your ego, the petty stuff fades into the background. It loses its power and you gain yours. So how do you stop getting angry at people? How do you walk through a world full of noise, full of tension, full of egos and opinions and disrespect without letting it all get inside you? The answer isn't complicated, but it takes work. You start by knowing who you are, not who people say you are, not who the world tries to convince you to be, but who you are. Deep down, when no one's watching, When you're anchored in that truth, people can say what they want, do what they want, and it doesn't shake you because your identity is not up for debate. You learn to pause, to slow down in the heat of the moment, because your power is not in how fast you react, it's in how well you respond. That pause gives you space. Space to breathe, space to decide who you want to be. That's how you take control back, not by clenching your fists, but by opening your awareness. Just because someone throws fire doesn't mean you have to burn with them. You set boundaries not to punish people, but to protect your peace. And you do it without drama, without yelling, without chaos. You say, this is my line. You don't cross it. And if they do, you don't fight, you walk away. That's strength. That's self-respect. That's showing the world that your value isn't up for negotiation. You lead with strength, but not the kind that comes from ego. Not the kind that needs to prove anything. You lead with the kind of strength that's quiet. The kind that's steady. The kind that doesn't have to raise its voice to be heard. You become the calm in the middle of the storm. Not because the storm isn't real, but because you are more real than the storm. And you stay focused. That's the anchor. Your mission, your purpose. That's the thing that keeps your feet on the ground when life tries to sweep you away. You've got something bigger to build, something deeper to pursue, something higher to reach. So no, you don't have time to get caught up in every little conflict. You don't have time to lose sleep over people who were never meant to understand you. You've got a destination to reach. Because when you're calm, when you're grounded, you become the storm that the world can't shake. Not because you shout louder than everyone else, but because you don't need to shout. Not because you throw punches, but because you don't flinch, you don't move, you don't give your power away just because someone tried to rattle you. So the next time someone comes at you sideways, trying to throw you off, trying to drag you into a battle that isn't yours, smile, pause, and remember you drive this car, not them, not their attitude, not their words, not their insecurities. You're in control. You always have been. Never forget that. Thank you.